thought I was dead? Nah, man, I've been chilling with Big Sherry out in Undercliff.
No way.
Way. And now I'm about to try Shimlers. Heard that chicken down is serious.
That's wild.
Come on.
Tupac has allegedly been spotted feeding birds in a U.S. park in 2024, handing out aid in war-torn Somalia, and even chilling K-Free at an Alabama restaurant years after his reported death. These aren't random sightings. Each one seems to tell a story about survival, transformation, and purpose. But one clip stands out above the rest of the 2004 Cuba parking lot encounter. This grainy, shaky footage, shot 8 years after Pac was supposedly laid to rest, shows a casual street scene in Havana. A group of locals hangs out, laughing and talking, when suddenly, one man catches everyone's attention. According to those who studied the video frame by frame, this mysterious figure bears an uncanny resemblance to Tupac Shakur, same build, same energy, same unmistakable swagger. At one point, he even looks directly at the camera, revealing facial features eerily similar to Pac's iconic look. And why Cuba? That detail actually fits perfectly into the bigger picture. Tupac's stepfather, Mutulu Shakur, and his godmother, Assata Shakur, both had deep revolutionary ties to the island. Assata famously fled to Cuba after escaping prison, and was granted political asylum there. Given those strong family connections and Cuba's tense relationship with the U.S., conspiracy theorists believe the island would have been the ideal place for Tupac to disappear, stay safe, and start over fire from the chaos that once surrounded him. Believers in this footage argue that all these details prove we're not just seeing some random Tupac lookalike, but the real man himself living quietly in exile, protected by deep family ties and political connections strong enough to keep him hidden from U.S. authorities. But Cuba was only the beginning of this global mystery. After the Havana sighting, the trail went cold for a while until it suddenly reignited thousands of miles away in Europe. Enter the Amsterdam music video appearance of 2006. Jumping ahead 2 years and crossing the Atlantic to the Netherlands, we encounter what's arguably one of the most polished and professionally produced pieces of alleged evidence in this entire saga. Unlike shaky handheld footage or accidental tourist clips, this one comes straight from a legitimate music video shoot by a Dutch rapper known as Chillo. The track, titled Amsterdam to LA, features a slick black and white visual style that gives it a raw, underground edge, exactly the kind of aesthetic that defined mid-2000s European hip-hop culture. The video is everything you'd expect from an era-gritty urban backdrops, street crews holding it down on corners, moody angles, and that authentic underground energy artists were always chasing. But it's not the cinematography that's got people talking, it's a mysterious figure lurking in the background of several frames. For brief moments throughout the video, someone who looks eerily identical to Tupac Shakur appears, moving naturally through the scenes like he's trying to stay unnoticed, keeping to the edges of the camera's view. The appearance is subtle enough to be brushed off as coincidence, yet distinct enough for believers to insist the resemblance is undeniable. What really sends this theory over the edge is Chillo's own response to the rumors. When fans started pressing him about it, he gave interviews that only deepened the intrigue. He never flat out said, "Yeah, that was Tupac," but he didn't deny it either. His sly smiles and cryptic remarks only poured gasoline on the fire of speculation, and when you really think about it, Amsterdam makes perfect sense as a possible hideout. The city is known for its open-minded, artistic culture and long history of giving refuge to those escaping persecution or unwanted attention. With its thriving underground music scene and deep cultural links to American hip-hop, Amsterdam could easily have been the ideal spot for someone like Tupac to move through the world unnoticed, yet still stay connected to the art form that defined him, which, in theory, makes Amsterdam a pretty believable place for Tupac to have made a quiet appearance if he truly was still alive. Conspiracy theorists use this as proof that Pac might have been moving through different parts of Europe, possibly collaborating with underground artists and staying loosely connected to the music scene that made him a legend. But he would have done so carefully, remaining dead on paper and out of reach from the dangers that once haunted him in the States before 1996. And while Europe may have offered him artistic freedom and anonymity, the next alleged sighting suggests Tupac might have taken far greater risks right back on American soil. Fast forward to 2009, Dallas, Texas. The setting, Lil Wayne's I Am Music Tour, one of the biggest hip-hop events of its time. The concert was a typical high-energy spectacle, thousands of fans jammed shoulder to shoulder, lights flashing, phones raised high to capture every moment. But, according to conspiracy believers and several eyewitnesses, something truly bizarre happened that night, something that got caught on multiple phones and later spread like wildfire across the internet. The footage, filmed by a random fan on an early smartphone, starts like any other concert clip, chaotic, shaky, and dimly lit. The crowd's energy is electric, bodies packed tight, everyone vibing to the music. But then, right in the middle of the madness, a mysterious figure begins moving through the crowd. The reaction around him changes instantly. Fans start turning, gasping, pointing. A few voices rise above the noise, shouting in disbelief, Tupac. Yo, that's Tupac. The camera tries to stay locked on the figure, catching brief, flickering glimpses of his face as he moves. The resemblance leads to believers is uncanny. The same sharp jawline, the same bold head, the same confident stride. Skeptics, of course, argue that in such a dark, frenzied environment combined with early smartphone video quality and the hype-fueled atmosphere, it's easy to see what you want to see. Maybe it was just a look-alike, or maybe fans were caught up in wishful thinking. But believers push back hard. They point to multiple independent witnesses who claim they saw the exact same man that night up close, in person. To them, this wasn't just another random double. This was living, breathing proof that Tupac Shakur had stepped out of the shadows and into the crowd, hiding in plain sight. He appeared to have survived and aged nearly 2 decades since his supposed death in 1996. The facial structure, the expressions, even the relaxed confidence in his movements, all of it matched what fans imagine an older Tupac might look like. What makes this particular sighting especially fascinating to believers is the setting and what it might mean. This wasn't some blurry clip from a far-off country with unverifiable sources. This was footage from a nationally televised American sporting Even 10 NBA game in one of the country's most well-known cities. The man in question was sitting casually among other fans, not hiding or avoiding cameras. If this truly was Tupac, it would show either remarkable confidence in his ability to blend in or perhaps a deliberate move to test how the public would react to seeing him again. Conspiracy theorists argue that Boston would actually make perfect sense as a city for Tupac to appear in. It's a cultural hub with world-class medical care, far removed from the dangerous tensions of the West Coast hip-hop scene that once put his life at risk. Boston also has a reputation for being a place where people respect privacy, making it easier for someone to move quietly without drawing much attention. The fact that this sighting happened at an NBA game is also significant. Tupac was known to be an avid basketball fan, often attending games during his lifetime. To those who believe, it fits the idea of him living a normal, low-key life while still enjoying the things he loved. After that bold public appearance in Beantown, the alleged trail led south to one of the most surprising places yet, a small restaurant in Montgomery, Alabama, in 2018. By this time, smartphone cameras had become incredibly advanced, capable of capturing crisp, detailed footage, which makes this particular sighting especially interesting. The video was filmed casually by someone recording the relaxed atmosphere of a neighborhood eater, families eating, friends laughing, people enjoying a quiet evening. Nothing seemed unusual at first, but in the background, viewers later noticed a hooded man moving to the rhythm of the music with a style that looked strikingly familiar. Believers quickly pointed out the man's build, movements, and subtle gestures as being nearly identical to Tupac's. At moments when his face turned toward the camera, some claimed to see features closely matching the late rapper's iconic look. What truly captured attention, though, was how effortlessly natural the moment felt. This wasn't someone performing for attention or trying to imitate a celebrity. It was a man enjoying himself, moving to the beat, completely at ease, almost as if he had nothing to hide. To those convinced that Tupac still walks among us, this quiet, unguarded clip from a small Alabama restaurant stands as one of the most compelling and humanizing pieces of evidence yet. The man in the Alabama video seemed completely unaware that he was being recorded. Many believe Tupac might have been drawn to such quiet and meaningful places because of their deep cultural roots and ties to the fight for equality, something he often spoke and rapped about during his life. From the calm streets of Alabama, the search for answers led once again beyond the United States, this time to the warm and colorful streets of Central America to IN 2019, a video surfaced from Belize City that reignited talk about Tupac being alive. The footage, captured by a tourist walking through a busy market, showed people shopping, vendors calling out, and the everyday energy of the city. In the middle of this, a man appeared wearing sunglasses and a bandana, looking and moving in a way that reminded many of Tupac. His walk, the way he interacted with others, and even his calm confidence made some believe he could be the rapper living quietly in Belize. Supporters of this idea say that Belize would be a smart place for someone to start over. It's peaceful, English is spoken widely, and people respect privacy. The man in the video looked comfortable and relaxed, blending easily into the crowd. To believers, this was proof that Tupac might have chosen a simple, quiet life in a new place far from fame. Then, in 2020, another surprising video appeared online, this time from someone closely connected to Tupac's past. Suge Knight Jr., the son of the Death Row Records boss who was driving the car the night Tupac was shot, shared a short video on social media that shocked everyone. The clip showed a man sitting in a luxury car, listening and rapping along to Tupac's music. The man looked older, his face showing signs of age, but his expressions and movements seemed familiar. The video quickly spread across the internet, drawing millions of views and endless debate. People began to wonder if it was real, and what it meant if Suge Knight's own son was the one sharing it. To many, it reignited the question that never seems to fade: did Tupac really die in 1996, or has he been living in the shadows all along? The man in the video looked like someone who would now be around 50 years old, matching what Tupac's age would be if he had survived. His facial features, movements, and expressions all seemed so familiar that many were convinced it was truly him living in secret all these years. But things got complicated when Suge Knight Jr. later admitted the video wasn't real. He said it was a publicity stunt meant to spark conversation, not proof of Tupac's survival. Logically, that should have ended the talk, but it only made the mystery grow. Some believe Sue Jr. might have been pressured to deny the truth, while others thought he could have used inside knowledge to make the video look so real that as debates over that clip continued, a new and very different sighting appeared, one that touched hearts instead of shocking minds. In 2018, footage from Mogadishu, Somalia surfaced, showing humanitarian workers helping refugees in a camp. Among them was a man who looked strikingly similar to an older Tupac Shakur. He was seen handing out supplies, speaking with locals, and moving with the same calm confidence fans remember from his life. This sighting stood out because it aligned perfectly with who Tupac was, not just a rapper, but a man deeply committed to justice, community, and change. Believers said if any version of Tupac were alive, this would be the one, a man who traded fame for purpose, working quietly to uplift others far from the chaos he once knew.